Welcome everyone to another episode of Mastering Money Mondays, where each and every week we infuse a topic to help us all transition from one of being a debtor and or saver into one of being a wealth creator. My name is Lonzy Green, affectionately known as Mr. Flip Your 401k.
And I am Cynthia Pete, IT project manager by day, but also your financial freedom fighter.
Hey, that's what's happening. Hey, we're both employed entrepreneurs as well as investors. But hey, that's not why we're here. Why are we here? Why do we have Mastering Money Mondays? Why do we have this podcast? And the show is quite simple. One, we've been taught how to make money. All right, go get an education, go get a good paying job. Two, we've been taught how to manage money. Now that you're making some money at your job, put it in a checking and or savings account and your 401k. But we have not, y'all, number three, we have not been taught how to master money. And that means multiplying the same dollar over and over and over again in order to become pregnant with possibilities and to create wealth. So as Cynthia and I are learning from 7 and 8 figure earners, we decided to pour the information and the knowledge that we are acquiring back into community so that it can help us all on our financial journeys. Okay.
Yes.
So with that being said, we are on episode 34. Before we get into that, what the title of that is, make sure you like and subscribe. Tell your mom and them. We would appreciate it so we can continue to push out this content for you all.
Yes.
Episode 34 is From Clarity to Currency, how goals and purpose can assist you in mastering money. So I'm going to start us out with the pain point. The pain point is people are distracted, okay? People are feeling lost and overwhelmed when it comes to managing their finances effectively. Reason why is because they lack clear goals, right? Or even a defined purpose. So because of that lack, it's challenging. It's challenging to make informed financial decisions, and it leads to missed opportunities and financial stress. Cynthia, Go ahead, hit us with the money tip.
So the money tip is, I think we've all heard of SMART goals, right? They're specific, they're measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So, before you can get to that, you really have to know what your goals are. If I just share my journey a little bit, I was a person taught, go to school, get an education, get a job. So that's what I did. I'm on automatic, I'm coasting, right? But then one day I woke up and I was like, there is no way I can do this until I'm 65. I was like, Lord, I know you created me more than to sit in traffic and come to a job from 8 to 5 and then sit in traffic and have like a couple of hours to myself a day, right?
Wow.
So I really had to understand what God was calling me to, what my skills were, because oftentimes what he calls you to and your skills and what you like to do are not different. They're kind of all within that same circle, right?
Good, yeah.
It's and so I really had to go through that journey to figure out, okay, I'm very good at structure. I'm very good at, projects and steps. And this is how you get it done, right? Just the tactical part of it. But I also lean into finances. And what I realized is, I remember somebody was like, you are obsessed with money. And I said, no, I'm obsessed with freedom. And I know if I can get the money will give me freedom and the time.
Yeah.
I could care less about money. Really could. I don't need a lot to live. I could live in a little 1 bedroom as long as it's by the ocean, right? But in America, you need money to get your time back.
Yeah,
so, which has kind of led me down this journey of, I went to school, I got a degree, I have a good job. Why am I struggling? Why am I not happy? This doesn't fulfill me, right? And so first you got to get that journey before you can get to the SMART goals, right? You got to figure out what is it, and you may not believe in God, but for me, I believe in God. What has God called you to, and how does all of that fit in together?
Now, let me ask you this, since we're on this, did that take you some time to get that figured out? And how long would you say that took you? Because we talk about, and I hear all the time on, we put this out here like step into your purpose or know your purpose or find your purpose as if it's some easy thing or overnight thing or some simple process. So how long would you say it took?
Oh man. I don't know that it took me long to know my purpose. I think it probably took me maybe 3 or 4 years, because as a believer in Christ in church, I had taken all these classes to identify my spiritual gifts. So I already knew those, right? So when I came to this revelation of I cannot do this 9 to 5 till I'm 65, I began to look at that. Okay, God, what are my spiritual gifts? What are the skills that I've learned in corporate America and education? What is the common theme? And it is always structure and task. At church, they used to call me the taskmaster, because if something needed to get done, they was like, oh, here come the taskmaster, and so, and how that feeds into the other side of that is that structure. I like numbers. I like definitive. I like X's and O's, ones and zeros, which is why I'm in IT. That's why it works for me. I'm not in marketing, right? So, which lends itself to finance, right? But ultimately, just naturally, who God created me to be, I like freedom. I don't like going to a 9 to 5, and it's okay for a while, but I like freedom, because what happened is I no longer had this margin in my life where I could volunteer in church. And so I did that heavy early on in my career. And I'm like, wait, what happened? And I was like, oh, I don't have time anymore. And I was like, at one point I had money, but I didn't have time. And so I was like, okay, how do I master this? So I can... So now when I have a job, I'm always relating it back to my purpose and how it can serve God and how it can serve the church, if that makes sense.
It does. And I think one of the things that you said through that response there that I think I don't want people to sweep under the rug is the questions that you asked of yourself.
Yes.
How you talk to yourself. It's, God, what is my purpose? What am I here for? How can my gifts be used in a way in order to really be able to propel my purpose in a way to impact others? See, a lot of us, we have conversations with ourselves all the time, but we're not asking maybe the powerful questions that's connected to purpose. We're asking ourselves more task-oriented questions that really doesn't get us to the result that you got to. And because we don't get to the result that you got to, we don't make goals. We don't act in accordance with that. And that, I think, is where the lost part comes up in the pain point, because of the conversations that we're having with ourselves, the questions that we're asking of ourselves are a complete detour from where our purpose resides. So I don't want people to sweep what you said under the rug, just the kind of questions that you ask of yourself. So now that we've gotten asked those questions, and we're starting to receive that messaging, however it is that you receive that message, or for whom you believe that messaging is coming from, now we can set some SMART.
Yes, now you can. And I would say it was a journey for me. So I had the revelation, right? Okay, God, you want me to do this for another 20, 25 years? And that's not what God was saying. That's what society said. Right. And so I really had to start. I think I would start with society and be like, this is what society says. Most people do. And then run it by God and just be like, okay, well, working to 65 is not a sin. So it must be okay. And so I had to change it. I had to start with God, right? And ask Him first, and then make the decision of how you get there. So, and it's a journey. I think before I was chasing things instead of purpose, right? So I was like, by the time I'm 30, I need to buy a house. I had all these I was chasing these things, right? And so, but had I known my purpose, I would have done life. I probably still would have bought the house, but I probably would still have the house, right? Because I knew my purpose and knew, no, the house is not important. It's here. You don't want to have that. You know, the house is an asset and it's going to grow in equity, so you just keep it, right? But I didn't understand that back then. So, and it takes some time, and sometimes your SMART goals are going to change. But it's kind of like the stock market. The trajectory of it should still, it might be up and down, but it still should be heading ultimately towards that purpose.
Yeah. I mean, just to be brief before we kind of go into some of our talking points, I would say for me, the journey is similar to yours, where it did take quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
But insane. I put things, I thought, you know, I was thinking about it backwards, right? Instead of focusing on the purpose, I was focusing on where I was and how could that purpose be inserted into where I was, instead of really focusing on the purpose.
Yeah.
And for me, so I guess the takeaway that I want people, would like for people to think about, is that journey of getting there is not a journey traveled alone. There are seasons where you are traveling that alone. Sometimes it could be a dark place.
Yep.
But there are, I call it your self-care support team, right? So whether that's your church, whether that's your spiritual advisor, whatever the case may be, don't take the journey completely alone.
Right.
And so it did take a while for me to eradicate all of the things, the institutional things, the educational things, because that's what we got to accept and understand too, that there's a lot of muck mentally, spiritually, emotionally, a lot of filters that we have built, even going back all the way from childhood, that has cluttered up and convoluted and mucked up what our purpose is. It takes time to sort through and sift through all of that before you start to see the light, right? So that's just a word of encouragement. But I had to go back to my childhood, and there were some exercises through a spiritual business counselor coach that I had that took me through what is called a Meridian Wisdom, Akashic Record. This is stuff that's kind of, sorry y'all, completely from Christianity. I am a man of faith, but I'm not a Christian per se. I don't associate with any religion. But it allowed for me to go back in through neuro-linguistic programming and hypnosis, my childhood, to come face to face with my childhood. And some of the things that I used to do in childhood, I was on purpose, because really, for a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us, in childhood, we are in our purest state. So all of these things that, whether societal norms or whatever the case may be, that we end up distracting us, we're far removed from that in our childhood. So just to share a quick story with you, back in the day, my dad used to have this VHS over-the-shoulder recorder, and one of the things that I loved to do was recording hood movies. So I would make movies with my neighbors. We would make hood movies. I still got them on VHS. I got to get them converted.
I need to see these.
I'm gonna have to show them to you. But my sister, my neighbor, shout out to Omar, you know who you are. We used to shoot these hood movies, and I used to do the editing. I used to do the graphics. Now this is when I was 12 years old, 8, 9, 10, 12. And so what my point is like, it wasn't until, like you said, I start saying, look, I can't be in this. I don't want to be in this 9 to 5. Like, God, what truly do you want me to do?
Right.
When I started asking myself those questions, I got taken back to my childhood. So this, in my opinion, this podcast, doing the production of it, being able to teach people, it incorporates, like you said, it incorporates the structure, but it also incorporates the creative nature that I've always had to be in front of camera, to edit, and all of that kind of stuff. And we know that the things that we're sharing in this podcast are going to help others, which to me is connected to my purpose, because I believe in helping others, teaching people, and educating people. Yes. Because I'm a master educator. At least that's what my Akashic reader told me, that I'm a master educator.
Nice. So, I learned something new. I wonder why you were like, I can't remember when, but at one point you was like, I'll just edit it. And I was like, what? So you just gonna take it and edit it? Yeah, I'll just do the reels. I'll do everything. I learned something new today. I was like, bruh, you can have it. Because that would be a whole new skill for me.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'll figure it out.
It takes time, but
you enjoy it.
I enjoy it. And this is our baby, so I wanted to. I mean, eventually I'm going to have to turn this thing.
Yeah.
On. But I wanted to have the feels of us, and I enjoy doing it.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, it's different now. Being in the 20th century than what it was in the 80s and 90s when I was just using a VHS. But it's still all the same to me.
Okay.
So let's get into the power of financial clarity, right? Mm-hmm. Having a clear understanding of one's own financial situation. Now, this is huge because I've been on consultation calls with people and they are all jacked up. I ain't gonna mention no names, but they all jacked up.
What do you mean by jacked up?
Like they're here, there, and everywhere when it comes to their money. When it comes to their, like, they don't have a plan.
Oh, okay.
They don't know where to put their money. They don't know what their timelines are. Mm-hmm. Some people go into are doing a lot of investing when they don't have what's called a core investment strategy. A core investment strategy for people that are new to investing in like things that historically do well, that are easy to invest in. So an ETF or an index fund, right? People will just put their money in without really even knowing what they're putting their money in. And actually, when you're building a financial foundation, investing is the last thing that you really should be thinking about. You should really be thinking about proper protection first, then managing your debt, then having an emergency fund, then getting into investing.
Okay.
That's how you build your financial foundation. But I digress. So having clarity and actually looking at your whole financial situation first before you really do anything will allow for you goal set, because you know where you are now. So that there's power in that, knowing where you are. So I'll turn it over to you about around as far as defining purpose and setting goals.
Yeah, and so just kind of what we talked about before, I really want to encourage people, because what we do with children is we encourage them to, like we said, get an education and get a job. But what we really need to be encouraging children is finding their purpose. And as their parents, like, you really have to focus on that to help your child out, because if they know their purpose, then they can leverage the financial plan according to the purpose, right? And not according to working till you're 65 and drawing Social Security, right? It becomes a little different because your purpose is different. I believe it is, God breathed and God given. And so based on the purpose, it's not always going to be retired at 65. I know somebody's like, I'm never going to start working. I love working. What? Right. So I have a friend and a relative. They was like, oh no, I will work until, I was like, listen, I'm going to be in this canoeing on the side of the ocean while y'all still out here working. But understanding that, because that will guide you on your financial goals.
Yeah, and let's park right there, because that purpose is huge. I'm glad you keep reiterating it.
Yeah,
because it doesn't necessarily mean you need to make a lot of money.
Yes,
mastering money. I mean, we don't let's not get this twisted, y'all. Mastering money doesn't mean necessarily being rich. Or wealthy. It's just knowing how money works so that you can live the life that Cynthia says, that your purpose to live.
Yes.
That's it. You ain't got to be rich and wealthy, but you do have to understand money enough so that you have the time, you have the freedom, you have the flexibility to, again, walk and live in your purpose.
Absolutely. And just an example of that, I bought a house about 2 years ago, and being in real estate, I have the house, I look at it as an asset, but I realized, I was like, I don't need all this. I like experiences. I like to travel. I like to be in different, spaces and countries and all that. And I was like, I don't even need it. I was like, but that's part of the journey too.
That is part of the journey.
That's part of the journey. So now that dictates my financial strategy. Because I'm like, okay, if I do buy something somewhere, it doesn't need to be big. Because I don't really need something that big, you know? And so you really have to understand your purpose, how and who God created you to be. Some people are like, no, I want the 5-bedroom house. And there's nothing wrong with that. But
there's everything wrong with that. Anyway, because I have a 5-bedroom.
Yeah.
Go ahead. And I had that epiphany too. Like,
you don't need all the space.
That was somebody else talking other than God.
It was, because it was society. It was society that tells us you need this big house. And it's like, no, I don't. I don't need a big house. I need my friends. I need my relationship. I need my purpose. Right. That's what I need. I don't need this big house. But anyway, I digress. And so, so again, knowing your purpose is really going to help you with those strategies. As my retirement game number changed, I have to have a different strategy. And so, you know, people ask me all the time, Cynthia, when are you going to buy a new car? I don't know. It's a Toyota. It might run forever. Because right now, I have a different strategy. Yeah. Like, and I see why they keep asking, why aren't you go buy a new car? Because their goal is to work till they're 65. Ooh. Right? So they're like, no, I still got a long time to work. I'm about to go buy a new car. Right? Yeah. But when your goal changes, you're like,
right.
You think about buying a new car. You're like, no, the car is not in the plan right now.
Right. Exactly.
I'm gonna have to get a new car eventually, but I was like, and normally by now I would have bought a new car, but I was like, no, that's not in the plan right now. So I will say this: most people who are hearing us are not financially literate. I am an advocate of financial planners. Please go get a financial planner, y'all. Please just don't depend on your 401k at your job. It may be enough, it may not, but you need a financial planner. When I tell you there is so much you can do with money, and we do the wrong things with money because we're illiterate. Right. I just remember being laid off, and I needed money, and my financial planner was like, oh, you know, you can just take the whatever principal you put in your Roth IRA, you can take that out, and it's not taxed, and it's not, well, Roth is not already not taxed, and there's no penalty. Right. And I was like, what? I would have been charging up a credit card somewhere, and I had access to my own money. And so, you know, in these strategies, please lean on a financial planner. I'm not saying you have to have a financial planner forever. You know, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I'm telling you, those financial planners will get you right. I am an advocate of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely important to have people in your circle that's smarter than you. Mm-hmm. Shoot, I'm in the financial services business, and I'm looking for a financial right now to manage my stuff, because I'm looking at tax strategy. I don't know. I mean, I need a tax strategy. I would like to look at more into maybe business acquisitions because of the wealth transfer. Yeah. So
baby boomers are retiring.
Yeah, these are things that I don't know about, but it's things that I want to do, and I'm really not educated on. So I'm going to go get me a financial firm to help me navigate those situations, to get me to where ultimately it is that I want to go. So, but again, it goes back to like what Cynthia says. It goes back to purpose, because the purpose gives you the clarity allows for you to set goals. The goals become the daily activities to help you reach those goals. One of the things that my mentor had us do is to outline a 6-year goal set, and what we do now in his mentorship is we do a 6-week goal set. Then we back that into a 1-week goal set, and then we back that into a daily goal set. So every day we're being held accountable to send our goals in in Discord, and those goals need to tie into the daily goals need to tie into the weekly. The weekly needs to tie into the 6-week, and then the 6-week needs to tie into the 1 year. So it's all interconnected. But again, when you're focused and you know exactly the destination that you're heading to, trust me, you're going to get there. Yeah. But the problem is a lot of us lack focus, and because of that, we're lost and we're overwhelmed. So again, Get clear on your purpose, because that's the root of everything to come. In order for you to bear fruit from that. So,
and I remember Marvin asking us to write our 6-year goals. Are you referring to Marvin?
I am.
Okay. I was like, wait, is this somebody else? And I remember when he had us write our 6-year goals, that was so hard. It was so, I was like, Cynthia, why is this so hard? But again, I think most of us are on automatic. We're just on what society tells us to do and roll right along. So I think we're about to close out, are we?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to close out with a activity that my counselor had me do, and it was so hard. And so I think this is where you need to start. Okay, because this is where it started and kicked it off for me. She asked me, if you could wake up tomorrow and design your own life and it would look exactly like you wanted, what would it look like?
Wow.
I think that is an activity you need to start with, because I remember I started with this activity and I did it and we were talking through it, and then as I looked at it, I said, wait a minute, why do I have a job in here? I was like, because I think I said I would only work 4 hours a day. I would go to my job. I said, wait a minute. I'm designing this.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, take this job out. Right. Like, you really have to get, because what we'll tell ourselves is, oh, if you don't have a job, then you're lazy. It doesn't matter. Just, if you could wake up tomorrow and live your life how you want to live it, what would your day look like? I'm telling you, it's a powerful exercise.
Yeah, wow, it sounds powerful. I'm probably a little afraid to because it's probably going to be a little bit Luther Campbell. It's probably going to be a little bit Love Boat and Fantasy. It's going to be a little bit of everything.
It does not matter.
But to my line, the line that sticks in my head is a line that Pimp C, late great Pimp C. I'm sorry. When people really get to know me, they like,
I don't need to get to know you. You from Oak Cliff.
You really are from Oak Cliff.
You are from Oak Cliff.
You know, people see me in this bow tie and these flags every day.
True. That's
true. They think I'm a certain way. Now I let them think that. That's
okay.
That's part of me too.
Yes.
When you really start getting to the core of who I am, you just like,
that's my hood.
I see what you. But yeah, Pimp C says in this one line, and it's really just it's my mantra for how I want my life to be. And he says, "Boys kicking back, laying in the shade, ain't nobody tripping because the money already made."
I like it.
That's all I want.
Okay.
So with that being said, hey, listen, thank you all for joining another episode of Mastering Money Mondays. Be sure to like and subscribe, tell your mom and them, and until next week, y'all take care, be good. Yes, and don't sleep on those rappers. Listen, I know a lot of the lines are ratchet, but sometimes they do have some good lines in there. Some knowledge. I like that one. Thanks. All right, bye y'all.